So, well, thank you. Thank you, Things Conference. Thank you, Things Network. And thank you for having us here. So what I'll do is talk about Dryad networks and what we're doing to make an impact to climate change. So it's all about making an impact to carbon emission, the net zero targets. And we are doing it with the help of LoRaWAN and the Things network. So just to give you an example, when you think of Dryad, think us to be a network, a LoRa network. We are building a network across the globe with our gateways and our base stations. And of course, ultra-early fire detection is our killer application, and it's our poster child just to make an impact with what we are seeing across the globe with all the wildfires going on. Now, I did not know about this before we started this company. So, this was 2019. We were thinking of doing something different from what we do. Now, we decided 2019, that was a time when the Australian wildfires were on, and that's how the 7 of us thought we'll do something different and started the company. Now, I did not know these numbers, but 20% of global carbon emission is created by wildfires. This is a massive number we're talking about, which is 6 to 8 billion carbon is being generated with one wildfire, for example. The other important thing is 80% of these wildfires are created by human beings. Now, this is a crazy number, even I did not know this. And, it's all created by arson, accidents, campfires. Sometimes an idiot throws a cigarette, and that's how the fire starts. So 80% of that is created by human beings. So it's our duty to do something about this across the globe. Biodiversity is another big problem. So, up to 3 billion animals and gets killed on an average from wildfires across the globe. And these are mammals and reptiles. These are not ants and cockroaches. So that definitely makes an impact to our climate. And of course, fortunately, there's a financial impact to it. The reason I say fortunately is because we have to make a business model out of it. Otherwise, we won't be able to sell this. We are an impact for profit while making an impact to climate. So 140 billion, this is just US alone last year. Now, this is actually going bigger. Swiss Re, the Swiss insurance company, predicts it's more than 300 billion of worldwide financial damages that is being caused by wildfires. Okay, so what can we do about it? So as you can see that there are a lot of technology which exists, but the problem has not been solved. We have the satellite technology, we have the cameras, as well as the IoT, what we are trying to do. Satellites are great. It's the problem with satellites or cameras, it's too slow. And by the time the fire is detected, the catastrophe has already hit, and it's late. So what we are trying to do with our IoT sensors, and here is the gas sensor, for example, we are trying to detect ultra early, so within the first 60 minutes before catastrophe hits. So, and the way we are able to do it is by having these gas sensors nailed to the tree 3 meters from the ground. And why it is so effective is because cameras are generally put high up in the canopies. Satellites are very few in number. By the time fire always starts below the ground, and by the time the fire is detected, it's too late, as I was mentioning, and it's unable to catch it, and catastrophe hits. So that's where we come into play with our sensors, and of course with the LoRa network, and I'll get into it more in details. Now, of course, the way we are doing it is with our SilverNet suite. Silver in Latin is forest, and net is the network. That's how we created the name of our product. And we definitely have a cloud platform, which we do device management as well as analytics and alert systems. So this is again on the Things stack. Thank you, Things Network. And of course, as you can see, we are able to detect ultra early, with trying to mitigate the damages as quickly as possible. Now, this is not possible without, not only with the cloud platform, but we have an end-to-end technology and solution, as you can see. So we have devices starting from the sensor, and again, let's take a deeper dive into the sensor a little bit more. So this is a fully powered, gas-powered, solar-powered gas sensor, which is trying think of this to be an electronic nose. So it's smelling for the change in air pressure, temperature, carbon dioxide, monoxide, volatile organic compounds, and then does the gas scan, and that's how the false positives are mitigated. Finds the data, sends the data to the gateway. The gateway is another important piece of our innovation. Now, as you can see, we will see a lot of LoRa gateways in the market. We are the only company in the world with a mesh architecture. And why mesh? The reason being, in a forest or in a deep location, especially forest, it's full of trees and plants, and its forest has a lot of water. So radio frequency is very difficult to propagate and transfer. That's the reason we had to create a gateway which goes multi-hop, hop to hop to hop to hop, and talks to each other. So the sensor sends the data to the gateway. We have the border gateway, which is the base station. That's another piece of our innovation. Now, if you can see, there are 3 antennas in the border gateway. The reason being, the first one is this has an Ethernet port, for internet. Again, you won't find internet in the forest. No problem. We have the 4G LTE chip also embedded. There's no 3G, 4G, or 2G available in the forest too. So what do we do then? So we also have the CubeSats, the Swarm, our partner Swarm, which is also embedded. So Swarm got bought out by SpaceX last year, and now we are connecting to the satellite via Swarm and able to do communication. So as you can see, we are completely independent of the grid, fully solar powered, super capacitors inbuilt for long-lasting solar power, as well as independent of connectivity. And of course, that goes to the cloud platform, and that's how we communicate and provide alerts to firefighters and emergency responders. Okay, so this is again another example as to how our mesh architecture works across the globe. So as you can see, the sensors are talking to the gateways talk to each other, and then it talks to the border gateway, and then to the cloud platform. Now, all these are geolocated. So, when you go to the platform, you can locate across the globe where each of these sensors and gateways are, and that's how the communication works. Now, you may ask me, how many sensors do I need to cover a forest? So, which is a very important question we always get from our customers. The way we have deployed this across the globe, we have 26 deployments already, including CAL FIRE, including PG&E, across Europe and Asia. Now, you can see that we are trying to deploy more of these sensors in road sites and camps and road sites where there's more human activities, because that's how the fires are created by human beings, and less in remote areas where generally a fire happens due to lightning. So on an average, we are looking at 1 sensor per hectare and 1.6 acres, if you want to convert that into acres. But that's an average we are looking at, and that's what we recommend to our customer base. Now, the other important thing is, in terms of the deployment. So before I get into the deployment modes, we do 2 ways to do it. You may ask how many of these sensors are required. So as I said, it's 1 per hectare. Now we can connect up to 100 sensors to 1 gateway, and we only need two border gateways per installation. Now these are very, very, very cheap. The idea is to deploy more of these. These are only $50, for example. And it's completely solar powered with machine learning embedded in it. So, you won't find a solar powered, even a smoke detector for your home for $50. And this is fully industrial grade with machine learning, 15-year lifespan. And it's, every upgrade, firmware upgrade is done over the photo. So, once you put it into the tree and those gateways up in a pole, you never have to pull it down. It has a life-lasting period of 10 to 15 years, and that's how we manufactured it. Fully, everything is manufactured in Germany. At $50, we are still profitable, including giving 30% of the margins to our reseller partners. And then when it comes to the deployments, we do 2 ways to do it. One is, of course, the pilot. So we do a smaller deployment with approximately 400 sensors. And you can see, with 5 mesh gateways and 1 border gateway, which will give you a coverage up to 400 acres or hectares actually 600 acres, for example. Now, this is also going to give you an idea about the functionality of the product as well as the scalability. Now, it's better to provide that to our customers rather than selling them a PowerPoint. So they tried, they tested out. Once they're satisfied with both the functionality as well as the scalability, we go into a live deployment, and the live deployment can be thousands of acres of land or forest areas, and it's a deployment period for approximately 10 to 15-year lifespan. This is how our pilot deployment looks like. So as you can see, there are 400 mesh gateways, for example, talking to the border gateways. Sorry, 400 sensors mesh gateway and then talking to the border gateways. And that's how the communication and the alert system works. And it, of course, the idea is to detect it within the first 60 minutes. Now you can see the use case is very clear in terms of the benefits with ultra-early fire detection, which we already spoke about. But we have a huge roadmap with different sensors which we are coming down the pipe. It's all in incubation as we speak. So how about a fuel moisture sensor which determines the fire risk level? How about a soil moisture sensor? So these are, and then the chainsaw detector, for example, is a very important use case for illegal logging. So this sensor can detect the noise at certain time, middle of the night, for example, and then all the illegal logging can be detected. The two-way paging is also a very important use case, and that's the reason Steel has invested in us. So we are trying to be the network, we are digitizing the forest. So, the two-way communication is very important. And then there are much more use cases like machine to machine, the chainsaw speaking to each other, to pull it out of the assembly line and do maintenance. These can all be done on our network. And, the idea behind our network is something where it's completely open standard on LoRa. So if there are sensors which we do not have, that doesn't lock our customers. They can go out in the market and buy any LoRa-supported sensor, and it can hook up to our network, and they can start communicating. So I think in terms of our co-founding team, we are 7 co-founders. Everybody is from the telecommunication industry, including me. We worked in the telecommunication industry. Karsten has done 3 exits, 4 exits. I've done 3. Marco is a great hardware guy. He's all about designing the RF as well as the hardware you saw. We have a finance guy. Daniel is the embedded software gentleman. Churian is the cloud lead. We have a scientist on board who knows everything about forests. And of course, I do sales. And this is the last slide. Gartner has already recognized us. So maybe, I'll take a pause, and any questions if you guys have, I'm happy to answer if you have time. Go ahead.
Who is your customer base? Do you plan to sell it to governments or other organizations?
Sure. The question is, who's our customer base? Are we selling to governments or anybody else? Thank you. The answer is yes. We are selling to governments, state, federal, state, private forest owners, public forest owners. We have utilities as a customer. PG&E is our customer. They create a lot of fires. We just finished the proof of concept. Now we are in pilot mode with them, for example, across Europe. Again, government. Now another great vertical we are focused on is the railways. So we are doing, I cannot name it right now because it's not rest is all, the press releases are already out. But this is one of the largest rail companies in North America who's doing a pilot with us, where they're testing it as we speak. And if that works out well, we can put a lot of sensors across rail lines. Yeah, so the question is, how does the gateways communicate with each other? Through LoRa. So that's the answer. Sorry? I can't hear you. Oh. Yes, so we are collecting a lot of data. So if your question is if the customer can see the data, yes, we can. It's all in the platform, in the cloud platform. And then, depending on the customer request, we can share the data. Absolutely. Sorry? Yes, that's a possibility too. Any other question? Yeah, go ahead. So can you be a little loud? Without, without waste in the forest? Well, that's a very good question. So right now we don't have an answer. It's still plastic. So this is all plastic. But yeah, the idea is to maybe change it down the line where it can be recycled. We will be using recycled. Right now it's not recycled. Y- Yes, yes. So the question about the mesh is whether it's proprietary. Absolutely, it's completely proprietary. This is our innovation, and it's heavily patented already. Yes, true, correct, yes. Any other question? Okay, so I think we're good then. Thank you very much for your time.